Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And to all my brothers out here preaching this truth to you, I say Shalom. This is Amatazar from the Chicago camp, coming back at you again with another lesson entitled Esau and Livonia, Louisiana. Okay? So in my travels, I travel quite a bit for work. In my travels, wherever I go, I like to look at the backdrop of the city that I'm in. Okay, and how did Esau get it? All right, or what is the historical and the biblical, spiritual significance of that place? So I like to see what Esau has done. All right, wherever I'm at, and so my travels took me to Livonia, Louisiana. Okay. So if you look at this thumb uh, thumbnail that I put together, a collage, you see sugarcane, soybeans, and crawfish. Okay. Now the crawfish, all of this, these are the economic backbones, all right, of uh, Louisiana, Livonia, Louisiana. Um, the crawfish is abominable. All right. So Jake has learned the way of the heathen, and he likes to boil crawfish. All right, with corn on the cob and potatoes and put garlic and all that. That shit ain't gonna make it less abominable. All right. But you learn the way of the heathen. All right. And you like to partake in these things. Anyway, so Livonia is 30 miles northeast of Baton Rouge, about 40 minutes, a 40-minute drive. So the question here today is, what do Point Cope Parish, the earth mounds, sugarcane, soybeans, and crawfish have in common? All right. So in Chicago, all right, in Illinois, we have something called counties. Will County, DeKalb County, Cook County. A parish is the French way of saying county. Okay, so Point Cope Parish is you could say is a county. So I was in Point Cope Parish. All right. Now, the elites are still profiting today off of the stolen land, slave economy, and terror inflicted prior to 1795. All right. So prior to the Louisiana Purchase of 1803 and the Indian Removal Act of 1830, all right, you have this list of Northern Kingdom tribes, okay, that was living in Louisiana, all right, in that area, okay, the Point Cope Parish area. All right. So notice that I highlighted the tunica. We're gonna come back to that. Okay. So these Northern Kingdom, they lived among Esau, Edom, and his slaves. All right, which was Judah. Okay, you see a lot of Judites that Esau brought into those areas. All right, now they saw the brutality and the evil that was afflicted upon Judah firsthand. All right, they saw how they was doing them. All right, and they still traded with them and made deals with them. Blah 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 blah. And we know the story. All right, they entered into lots of agreements. Okay, uh, lots of agreements and treaties that were broken. Okay, so now while I was there in Point Cope, Livonia, all right, I visited the Earth Mound. Okay, Livonia mounds are ancient indigenous earthworks located in downtown Livonia, Louisiana. Okay, um, in Point Cope Parish, built between 700 AD and 1200 AD by the Cold Creek culture. Okay, uh, it says the largest conical mound stands nearly 31 feet tall and was likely used as a sacred burial ground. Now, Glenn Beck, okay, Glenn Beck got fired from his job when he brought out the earthworks and the Decalogue stones and the ancient writings, okay. You had the the mixed up uh, part Hebrew, Paleo Hebrew mixed with the Assyrian. Okay, the Assyrian script of Hebrew, and Glenn Beck got fired over that. All right, so I personally went to the mound and took a picture with my phone. There it is. Okay, so the Lord has blessed me to go into these areas. All right, and I'm just bearing witness against these devils. There we go. Right next to that mound is a fire department. Point Copay Fire District number 4. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. Okay. Very, very interesting. Very, very spiritual. A lot of history in this particular place that I visited. Okay. Because there was a conspiracy or uprising. All right. That Jake was trying to get out of his condition. It says one of the most significant events in Louisiana history occurred here. The Point Coupé slave conspiracy, inspired partly by the Haitian Revolution, enslaved people in Point Coupé planned an uprising against plantation owners. The conspiracy was discovered before it could fully unfold. Spanish authorities carried out severe punishments, including executions and public displays meant to deter future revolts. Historians consider it one of the largest slave conspiracies in North American history before the Civil War. Uncovering the 1795 slave conspiracy. The betrayal. On April 9, 1795, two Tunica Indian women, Northern Kingdom women, living on a Ridgey plantation, overheard enslaved laborers planning a major armed rebellion in a nearby cypress swamp. The women reported the plot to their master, okay, Louis Ridgey, okay. I love my master. You see that? Noting that the conspirators intended to burn a cabin at the Poydras estate to ambush and kill local slave holders. Listen to the motivation. Historical accounts indicate the Tunica women feared for their own safety and survival if the violent revolt succeeded, as the plans allegedly involved killing all white residents except young women. Okay, see, we know these are this got to be the truth because that's exactly what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to save the young white women. You're supposed to save the young white women. You're supposed to save them. All right, so just like on the slave ships, all right, you had Eve telling Esau about any revolts that was going to happen on the ships because they was in a better position. They wasn't in the heat of the belly of the boat with all of the waste, okay, all that shit, excrement, piss, and the heat and the vomiting. All right, they were in what they thought was a clean bed, getting rotted out and defiled by Esau. They would rather be in. They didn't want to change conditions. They want to be in the bed with Esau. Okay, and they didn't have a problem being defiled by him. All right, so they would tell. I'm saying, well, the same thing happened here. Northern Kingdom told on the Southern Kingdom. So I just wanted to bring that out. Brutal crackdown and aftermath. It says mass executions following the plot's betrayal in April 1795. Spanish authorities put 57 enslaved individuals on trial. 23 enslaved conspirators were hanged, decapitated, and their heads were placed on posts along the Mississippi River as a gruesome warning. All right, and Esau, you got to pay for that. Okay, we're going to talk about how you're going to pay for it a little later on in this lesson. All right, so of course, this caused systemic panic. The conspiracy caused immense paranoia across the American South. In response, Louisiana's governor, immediately suspended the importation of all foreign enslaved people to prevent the contagion of Haitian rebel ideology from spreading further. All right, so they want no more slaves from anywhere else bringing that bullshit back to Louisiana. All right, so now around 1870 to the present day, 156 years, railroads began hauling commodities from the same points on that stolen land. All right, so 1870 is when the railroad came to Point Copay up until now. All right, and guess what? Esau still profiting off of all those original lands that were acquired. All right, and the slave labor that originally was used. All right, to plant and harvest the sugar cane and soybean, and so that's where we at. All right, so now let's get into the scripture. So, why did this happen to us in the first place? Okay, why did all of this horrible shit happen to the Israelites in the first place? Because we did not obey, all right, the Lord. The Lord said, well, hey, if you ain't gonna obey me, I'm gonna make you obey. You ain't gonna serve me, I'm gonna make you serve your enemies. It's simple as that. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 45. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. So the Lord giving you the why. He telling you why. Because you refuse to serve him with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. This is Psalms 44. Okay. This is my camp elder. He loved to bring this Psalms 44 out. And I appreciate him for it. Elder Southside. This is Psalms 44 and 10. It says, thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and dost not increase thy wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. And the bywords that we've been given is everything but what our true identity is. Black, Hispanic, wetback, nigger, um, everything other than our real names. Okay? Because those real names, okay, they didn't want you to know that you're Gadites or Reubenites or Ephraimites, you see, or Judites. Payback, all right? So the payback is definitely coming. This is Lamentations 1 and 21. They have heard that I sigh. There is none to comfort me. All my enemies have heard of my trouble. They are glad that thou hast done it. Thou wilt bring the day that thou hast called, and they shall be like unto me. Let all their wickedness come before thee, and do unto them as thou hast done unto me for all my transgressions. For my sighs are many, and my heart is faint. Lamentations 4 and 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. All right, so we're nearing the end of our punishment, and we're seeing these curses being placed upon the heathen and the fear that's coming upon them. All right, and the reason why you see all these Edomites crashing out on TV is because of the fear. because they know something's coming. And then you have the men of the Lord on the street corners, all right, explaining how they're going into captivity, all right, because the Bible and Christianity don't got nothing to do with each other. They're not the same thing. Christianity don't read these scriptures. You're never going to hear about Lamentations 121 and Lamentations 421 in a Christian service, all right, inside their churches. You're not going to hear about Second Thessalonians 1 and 6 saying, seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. You're not going to hear about Jeremiah 30 and 16 that says, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. See, they're not gonna read these type of scriptures. Isaiah 14, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. All right. So Esau really don't like this scripture because it says, prepare death, prepare to kill them for what they fathers did. Okay. When the Edomite tells you, I didn't have you in slavery. Okay. Well, actually you did, brother. You did. Because you are your forefathers. All right. You, your great granddaddy, coming back in reincarnation. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, said Yahweh of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, said Yahweh. All right. Revelation 13 and 10 says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So the saints are patiently waiting, okay, to put them in chains who put them in chains, and kill them with the sword who killed them with the sword. And in closing, Psalms 149 and 6, okay. Thank you for staying with me this long. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh. All right. And the saints are the Israelites. All right. So slavery is coming back. It's going to come back in a big, beautiful way. And all of this wickedness, I'm very happy to be a witness to all these things and to be able to report on all these things. All right. So the sugar cane, the soybean, and the crawfish. All right. This lesson has been Esau and Livonia, Louisiana. I pray that this lesson has been edifying. Until the next one, Shalom.